prepared to enter a world stranger than you have ever imagined. The world of witchcraft, magic, and ritual. This is a journey back to the roots of paganism, to mystical belief and superstition. A timely journey, because there is an occult explosion taking place in the Western world.
In nomine Satanus, Lucifer excelsis Dei.
Hail Satan!
Hail Satan!
If the devil lives anywhere, it could be in San Francisco.
From our point of view, it really makes no difference whether you pray to a father god, or to a mother goddess, or to an entire gaggle of gods and goddesses. You're still wishing the same thing. You're still wishing to be included. You're still wishing for their acceptance. You're waiting for them to put their arm or arms around you and say, you belong, you are a part of us, you can relax, we will take care of you, we approve of you, we endorse you. The Satanist, the black magician, does not seek that kind of submergence of the self. We do not seek to have our decisions and our morality approved or validated by any higher god or being. We take responsibility unto ourselves.
The Temple of Set follows the ancient Egyptian Prince of Darkness, Satan, in another guise. It's America's only legal satanic church and enjoys tax-free status. Lilith Sinclair and temple director Michael Aquino edit the Satanic newsletter. It has a circulation of 75.
Basically, Christians, as well as many other religions, and even a lot of the occult groups are around, are afraid of us. We threaten them, not physically, but our existence and our philosophy threatens their security because we pose questions that they don't want to face and that they don't have answers for.
The Temple of Set emerged from the Church of Satan, founded in the mid-60s by Anton LaVey, a one-time lion tamer and carnival performer, and the Church of Satan's self-appointed magus.
Satan, Leviathan, Lucifer, in the name of our most exalted God, Satan, Lucifer, I command thee to come forth. Shemham Parash.
Shemham Parash.
Hail, Satan!
Hail, Satan!
Friend and companion of the night, thou who rejoicest in the baying of dogs and spilt blood, look favorably on our sacrifices. Open wide the gates of hell, and come forth. Shemham Parash.
Shemham Parash. Hail, Satan!
Well, it had occurred to me for many, many years that there was a large gray area between psychiatry and religion that was untapped, and no religion had ever been based on man's carnal needs or his fleshly pursuits. All religions are based on abstinence rather than indulgence, and all religions, therefore, have to be based on fear. Well, we don't feel that fear is necessary to base a religion on. The fact that religions for thousands of years have been telling people what they should do and what they shouldn't do according to the basic whims of a person who might be running the show is very understandable. We're realists, we Satanists, but we also feel that a person has to be good to themselves before they can be good to other people. This is a very selfish religion. We believe in greed, we believe in selfishness, we believe in all of the lustful thoughts that motivate man, because this is man's natural feeling.
My career as a magician continues to evolve. Since I, to a certain degree, believe art and magic to be interchangeable, it has seemed only natural that art should be the means by which I express magical ideas. This has found its way into my prose writing, in works such as Voice of the Fire, and probably most visibly has found its way into the performance pieces that I've done at various locations over the past 8 years. Beautiful little psychedelic artifacts in their own right, which actually capture the kind of narrative journey that we've tried to take the readers on as part of these performances, to overwhelm the sensibilities of the audience, to tip them over into a kind of psychedelic state where we can hopefully actually change their consciousness and direct it to different places, different levels, hopefully into new and hopefully magical spaces. When we are doing the will of our true self, we are inevitably doing the will of the universe. In magic, these are seen as indistinguishable. That every human soul is in fact one human soul. It is the soul of the universe itself, and as long as you are doing the will of the universe, then it is impossible to do anything wrong.
I think when I was growing up, I definitely had strong beliefs and that there were things that I couldn't see. I always knew, and I always had a gut feeling that there was much more to life than meets the eye. I remember even being in junior high school, and I think I was the only kid at school reading the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey and looking at magic spells. And I think my parents were actually horrified in my interest in things that no one, the unexplainable or the esoteric, the paranormal. I grew up in a very religious Southern Baptist family, and there was no room for any discussion of ghosts and the supernatural. It was never discussed in our house. I think the first big experience that happened to me when I was about 15. This is the first significant experience. I was living at home, and I share a room with my two sisters. I got into bed, start to fall asleep, and I hear this. I got back into bed again. I started to fall asleep, and just as I was falling asleep, and it was an actual physical pain of being electrocuted, and sparks flew from my arms and legs from the bed and lit up the room. I wasn't screaming because I was in such shock. It wasn't a burning sensation, it was an electrical sensation. It stopped, and I just panicked, and I ran downstairs immediately and woke up my parents, and they believed me because it was obvious that I wasn't making it up. They saw that I was completely panicked. It wasn't just something I saw, it was something I felt. And still to this day, I'm curious as to exactly what it was. I have no idea. I have no idea what it was, but it was real.
Every time when I'm painting, I have music. It gives me as a stimulation. And in another way, it was a very good meeting when I met Chris and Debbie at the Hansen Gallery in New York, when I had this Oscar award, or how you say, the Academy Award. We have the meeting, and Debbie, she liked my work very much, so she came, and they invited me to the Hansen Gallery. And I us to her penthouse, and so we had the first contact. And when she made her own album, when she liked to change her image, she asked me by telephone to do maybe a cover for her. And I was once I was sick, and I was treated with acupuncture. So I had the idea, because she is she is the queen of punk, really. And punk for me was always safety pins, or to stick something into, and I have these things together, the acupuncture needles. I put her through the head as kind of stimulation, and the lightnings in the back, it's taken energy from the air to stimulate her.
Fear, guilt, anxiety. Keywords in the vocabulary of 20th century man. How do you banish these dark images from the soul? Some do it through art. H.R. Giger is the creator of The Alien and perhaps the greatest occult artist of his time. At his studio in Switzerland, he releases the darkness within himself by transforming it into something which all the world can see.
The ideas, they come sometimes from dreams or from bad things. And I go to realize it, and then I work it out. It's like a kind of exorcism. Mostly people look at my paintings for the first time. They are a little bit disturbed, and they think that I'm completely crazy. Images in my paintings are evil, but you can't say that I'm evil. That's just the paradise. For me, it's the hell. I like women very much, but I'm afraid of sometimes. I'm afraid about suffering. Women make me often suffering so much that I stopped, and maybe I work it out on the painting. There are plenty of sex symbols, and the death is in my painting so much and so often that I can't see it. And sometimes, if it's too heavy, my mother tell me, please go to change this a little bit, because she feels shame about her son, and I feel shame because she feels, and so I go to change. With my art, I just want to survive.
on my 40th birthday, rather than merely bore my friends by having anything as mundane as a midlife crisis, I decided it might be more interesting to actually terrify them by going completely mad and declaring myself to be a magician. This had been something that had been coming for a while. It seemed to be a logical end step in my career as a writer. And the problem is that with magic, being in many respects a science of language, you have to be very careful what you say. Because if you suddenly declare yourself to be a magician without any knowledge of what that entails, then one day you are likely to wake up and to discover that that is exactly what you are. There is some confusion as to what magic actually is. I think that this can be cleared up if you just look at the very earliest descriptions of magic. Magic, in its earliest form, is often referred to as the art. I believe that this is completely literal. I believe that magic is art, and that art, whether that be writing, music, sculpture, or any other form, is literally magic. Art is, like magic, the science of manipulating symbols, words or images, to achieve changes in consciousness. The very language of magic seems to be talking as much about writing or art as it is about supernatural events. A grimoire, for example, the Book of Spells, is simply a fancy way of saying grammar. Indeed, to cast a spell is simply to spell, to manipulate words, to change people's consciousness. And I believe that this is why an artist or writer is the closest thing in the contemporary world that you are likely to see to a shaman. I believe that all culture must have arisen from cult. Originally, all of the facets of our culture, whether they be in the arts or the sciences, were the province of the shaman. The fact that in present times this magical power has degenerated to the level of cheap entertainment and manipulation is, I think, a tragedy. At the moment, the people who are using shamanism and magic to shape our culture are advertisers. Rather than trying to wake people up, their shamanism is used as an opiate to tranquilize people, to make people more manipulable. Their magic box of television, and by their magic words, their jingles, can cause everybody in the country to be thinking the same words and have the same banal thoughts all at exactly the same moment. In all of magic, there is an incredibly large linguistic component. The bardic tradition of magic would place a bard as being much higher and more fearsome than a magician. A magician might curse you. That might make your hens lay funny, or you might have a child born with a club foot. If a bard were to place not a curse upon you, but a satire, then that could destroy you. If it was a clever satire, it might not just destroy you in the eyes of your associates. It would destroy you in the eyes of your family. It would destroy you in your own eyes. And if it was a finely worded and clever satire that might survive and be remembered for decades, even centuries, then years after you were dead, people still might be reading it and laughing at you and your wretchedness and your absurdity. Writers and people who had command of words were respected and feared as people who manipulated magic. In latter times, I think that artists and writers have allowed themselves to be sold down the river. They have accepted the prevailing belief that art and writing are merely forms of entertainment. They're not seen as transformative forces that can change a human being, that can change a society. They are seen as simple entertainment, things with which we can fill 20 minutes, half an hour while we're waiting to die. It is not the job of artists to give the audience what the audience want. If the audience knew what they needed, then they wouldn't be the audience. They would be the artists. It is the job of artists to give the audience what they need. My career as a magician continues to evolve. Since I, to a certain degree, believe art and magic to be interchangeable, it has seemed only natural that art should be the means by which I express magical ideas. This has found its way into my prose writing, in works such as Voice of the Fire, and probably most visibly has found its way into the performance pieces that I've done at various locations over the past 8 years. Beautiful little psychedelic artifacts in their own right, which actually capture the kind of narrative journey that we've tried to take the readers on as part of these performances.